Santa Cruz has just launched the new big hitting Bullit. They reckon all the models weigh under 50 pounds. There's one in this box, so let's get it on the scales and see if they're right. See if this is actually a Santa Cruz, otherwise it could be quite embarrassing. Bosch charger, that's a good sign. Well, they packed this one well. Someone's ridden this already. Hope they've taken good care of it. Santa Cruz, good sign. Ah! This is wrapped up better than your nan's Christmas present. Look at that. She's very pretty. Got sparkly teals, got a little bit of glitter in there. Lovely. We'll get the handlebars in, we'll get the front wheel in, and then we'll have a little look at what we got. So I do have a bit of a confession to make because I am a bit of a Bullit fanboy. I actually had one of the original models back in 2000 or 2001, can't remember. And then I bought another one in 2005. So I had a black one originally and then I had a grey one. And all my riding mates had them as well because they were the absolute free ride bike of choice back in the early noughties. But this thing is a different beast entirely. If I went back in time now to 2000 and showed myself this bike, 170mm travel e-bike, I'd have reckoned it'd have fallen out of a spaceship. So this is the new Fox Float X2 shock, only just come out. It's the first bike I've seen it on. Did see it out in the launch in Arizona, but I never got a chance to ride it. So gonna be cool to give it a try. So a few bullet points on the new Santa Cruz e-bike. It's a 170mm travel beast. It's got a full carbon frame, it's got MX wheels, and it comes with a new Bosch CX motor. So one of the more controversial aspects of this bike is that it comes with the 600 watt-hour battery in there. That's the smaller of the two Bosch options. And because the down tube is fully enclosed, you can't take it out to swap it in with another one. Now, I've seen a few comments online about that not being enough for some people, and I totally get that. So let me know in the comments what you think about it. So Santa Cruz's argument about this, well, they've got a few arguments with it. First of all, is that they wanted to make the bike as agile as possible. So they wanted to drop like around about 1 kilo of weight from the bike. And because this is like a gravity bike, they feel like it's even more important because they want to get the weight centered and low, and they don't want it tipping the bike forward on steep descents. So I think that's a completely legitimate argument for putting the smaller battery in there. There's also an aesthetic element to this because they get to spec a much smaller diameter down tube, and I think the whole bike benefits from having that smaller down tube. It looks a lot more like a normal conventional analog bike. Now Santa Cruz would also say that you can put a range extender on here, the Bosch 250 watt-hour PowerMore range extender, if you want to do those longer rides. And I totally agree with that. I like the fact you can choose the capacity of your battery and the weight and handling of your bike to suit the ride, but it doesn't come with the PowerMore range extender. So you're gonna have to fork out about another 400 quid for one of those if you wanna do that. And one final aspect to this whole battery thing is that you've got a really long travel kind of enduro e-bike here, and the appropriate tires for this have got softer compound and they've got sturdier reinforced casings. So you are going to have more drag, more friction, and that is going to have an impact on your range. But the proof is in the pudding, so we are going to go and range test this bike to see what it delivers. I've also seen a few comments saying that this is just a long travel Vala. Well, yes, it looks pretty similar, but actually this is a completely unique frame. So travel bumps up to 170 millimeters front and rear. It's got a really kind of burly, solid build to the frame. You've got this massive rocker link here. You've got this big seat stay bridge. You've got these big clevis pivot at the back of the horse link, and that's got double stack bearings in there. So this thing is really built for aggressive riding, and it does actually come with a lifetime frame warranty as well. This is something interesting that I've noticed. There's only 2 cable entry ports at the head tube, so you basically can only run this bike with a wireless drivetrain. So 21.9 kilos, let's see what that is in pounds. So 48 pounds and 11 ounces, they just managed to sneak under that 50-pound barrier. And this is a size large as well. Okay, time to measure the geometry in the travel. So the Bullit has 2 different geometry settings. I'm in the high steep position at the moment, but to be honest, the flip chip makes barely any difference to this bike. So Santa Cruz says the head angle is 63.6 in the steep position. So let's have a look and see what it is. Well, I get 64 degrees on that one. So 75.1 for the actual seat angle. That's pretty steep for an actual seat angle. Now we're going to measure the effective seat angle. So 79.8, and Santa Cruz says it should be 78.7. So a little bit steeper on the effective seat angle. Just going to measure what saddle height that's at. And that is at 740 millimeters saddle height. Santa Cruz reckon the wheelbase on the size large is 1280 mil. I make that 1280 mil. So BB height in the high position, Santa Cruz says 346 mil. So that's 342 mil, a little bit lower than claimed. Okay, time for the reach. Santa Cruz says size large, high position, 480 mil. Let's check. So that's interesting. I measured the reach at 487, Santa Cruz says 480, so it's actually a little bit longer than they say. So one thing I totally forgot to measure on this bike is the rear center, which is really dumb because this bike is supposed to have unique rear center measurements for each different size. Now obviously what they don't do is make unique chainstay or seat stay assemblies for each bike. What they do is just move the position of the main pivot relative to the BB axle. So it saves a lot of money, right? But let me just check what this is. It's supposed to be 446 mil. Obviously we've got a 27.5 inch rear wheel here. So let's see what it is. Yeah, totally bang on, 446 mil. So that's all the measurements of the Bullit. Biggest difference was really the reach, which was longer than claimed. I don't think that's going to make a big difference to the handling, but it's just interesting to note. Helps with the sizing, I think, gives you a bit more room on the bike. So Santa Cruz has a flip chip up here at the seat stays and the rocker link, but they only make 0.3 of a difference to the head angle and around 4 mil to the BB height. So I'm not actually going to bother measuring it in low position because it's just not a lot of difference. That might sound a bit flippant about the flip chip, if you excuse the pun. Basically, if you run 1 mil more sag at the shock, you're basically going to end up with the same geometry figures anyway. So it's such a marginal adjustment. Sometimes it's not really worth playing with. Now, what you might have noticed on this bike is that it also has a chip at the base of the shock here. Now that's the progression chip, and by changing the position, you can affect the leverage ratio, the overall progression of the bike between 26% and 29%. Basically, that gives you the option to, if you want to run a coil shock, you could run it in the more progressive setting, or if you just want to change the feel of the bike, so maybe for a more kind of natural enduro tracks, you might run it in the less progressive setting, or if you want to ride kind of bike park stuff, you might want to run it in the more progressive setting. So one of the things on the Santa Cruz is that it comes in 5 different frame sizes, from small to XXL. That's a really good size range. And even like the size large here has less than 430mm seat tube length. And you've got a really long dropper in there. I think this is a 210mm dropper as well. Just check that. Yeah, it's a 210 dropper on there. So you've really got a nice low standover, loads of room to maneuver around the bike. Before I measure the travel, quick note on the Santa Cruz frame layups. They always do 2 different carbon layups. This is the CC, this is the high-end, slightly lighter version. There's a C model as well. All of the range, except for the top model, has the C carbon layup. This is the top bike, costs £9,999. And while we're on the subject of pricing, the entry-level model starts at $6,799. As I say, this one's $9,999. When the last Bullit came out in 2021, it was £10,499. So actually, this bike is £500 less, even though we've had all that inflation in the last 5 years. Now, I know it's a stack of money, but you could argue that it's better value. So 170mm travel on the nose, perfect. That's what we like to see. A couple of things I want to clarify. I got something wrong earlier when I said that there are only 2 cable entry ports on this bike. I was right. This bike will only run a wireless drivetrain, but this is the CC frame. On the cheaper C frame, you can run mechanical drivetrains with standard cable operated drivetrains. So just wanted to get that one clarified. I want to talk about this little bolt here. This is a 10 grand bike. This has got Bosch's like premium new CX motor. This really bugs me, this little motor mount bolt for the Bosch motor here. I just think it's really ugly. I think they could have done something to disguise this mount on like such a premium frame. I think if there was like some kind of blanking plate or something, it would just look a lot cleaner. Minor thing, but you know, these details matter when you're spending 10 grand. Come and look at this as well. So this has got the Axis rear mech, the wireless mech, but Santa Cruz has decided not to wire it into the main e-bike battery. To be honest, I'd much rather have the wireless derailleur wired into the frame. I know that sounds mental, but just one less battery to have to charge. That's got to be a good thing. Another little minor detail on this bike is that it comes with the brand new Minion DHR2 in the 2.5 inch size. Everyone's been asking for this tyre for years. It's finally here. Just did some measurements and it's only like 2.8mm wider than the old 2.4 wide trail. So I don't know, is it going to make a big difference on the trail? We'll have to find out, but it doesn't seem like much to me. So there we go, that's the Santa Cruz Bullit. It's a sick looking bike. We've measured it, we've weighed it. It's got the travel that they say, it's got the weight that they say, it's got the numbers pretty much that they say. Mick Kirkman's ridden this bike already, he loves it. You can read the first ride review on mbr.co.uk right now. Now it's our chance to get it in the dirt. So we're going to do a range test, we're going to take it to Bike Park Wales, we're going to have some fun on it. But let us know in the comments if there's anything you want us to do with this bike.